Salam, Lemba Beta Israel, Salam Beta Sab, Salam DEQIQE Lemba Beta Israel, Salam Lelikulukum, Yedbarake Amilake Lekulu Fas, Lekulu Sasega. Yedbarak Amilak Exir Behir Lemba Beta Israel, Salam Beta Sab, Salam Beta Saba, peace unto all children of Israel in the four corners of the earth, in all your dwellings, in all your places, from the lands of the afar and the lands of Hasaba to the islands of the sea. I send my salam greetings. And first of all, I would like to distinguish members of the Royal Council and the Royal Palace in the sitting of this Honorable Kingdom's Royal Cause and Royal Supreme Cause in Lemba Beta Israel, SENAYI. SENAYI is South Africa. This is King Binyam Selamun of Lemba Beta Israel, speaking from my royal courts here in Santiago de Chile in South America. I should like to distinguish Mengistu Dawit Selamun of Lemba Beta Israel, SENAYI. I also should like to distinguish the Queen Mother, Her Majesty, the Queen Mother Bukeka Israel Ngongo Haba from Lemba Beta Israel, SENAYI, and the Supreme Royal Cause of this kingdom, the Honorable Kingdom in SENAYI. I should like to distinguish Her Majesty, Her Highness, Princess Palisa Pulusi Hagar Haji of Lemba Beta Israel, Royal Supreme Cause, SENAYI, Lemba Beta Israel, Royal Executive Council, SENAYI. Should like to distinguish all members of the Royal Executive Council of this kingdom in SENAYI, and also like to distinguish all our Royal Executive Council in Indianapolis in the United States of America, where sits the Temple of Amun under Prince and Kahan Amun of Lemba Beta Israel in the United States of America. We distinguish also the Crown Princes of this kingdom, the Crown Prince Kirubel Solomon of Lemba Beta Israel Royal Palace, the Crown Prince Mesfin Enoch of Lemba Beta Israel and Hasaba, Crown Prince Sarai, Lemba Beta Israel, Hasaba, Addis Ababa. I sent my greetings just before the celebration of our Fasika in this year, in this moon of Megebe, in the year 1793, the new year that is just coming. SENAYI HADIS EMET. SENAYI HADIS EMET. Lemba Beta Esra'el. Warhawi Lemba Beta Esra'el. In our lunar calendar, we celebrate this, and this is the 13th day and the 13th night, and tomorrow will be the 14th night, the 14th day, the 14th night of our moon of Megebe, in which we celebrate the Passover and also celebrate the New Year at full moon. It's full moon now, full moon Megebe. And then we have our equinox at this precious time because of the equal number of hours for the day and equal number of hours for the nights. 12 hours each, 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night in our equinox, because we have 182 days of our equinox, and then a complete year is 364 days. But we observe the lunar calendar. We count according to the moon days. But all our moons have names. Like the moon we're in is called Megebe. Yes. And we have moons. I heard someone say that the moons do not have a name. And the moons are not months. They don't have a name. They do have names. If you do not know the names, please ask Lemba Beta Esra'el to tell you the name of a moon. Yes, what moon is this? What is it called? So we are in the moon of the Passover celebrations. And so tomorrow we will have the Passover Eve and the lamb. And the bread with unleavened bread, which is called kita. And we will drink our beverage that is made of flax seeds and or linseed beverage called telabe or teleba, which will be prepared very abruptly, very quickly as we proceed to move away from the land of refuge and go back to our homeland and our promised land, which is the land of Asir, the greater Yemen. Yes, that was promised to the children of Lemba Yemeni Israel, as they were now refugees on the far lands and the inlands of Hassaba. And they had to return under Moses to their homeland. And we are celebrating this exodus, this great exodus from the land of refuge to the land of origin, and promise to them as well. So we have two things: the land that they originally had come from and the land that they were promised to return to. So we have 2 points to make. The promised land is the previous homeland of these people, in the original homeland is also called the promised land. So that's what we are going to talk. So I will deliver this message today on the 13th day and 13th night of Passover, Fasika. And say happy Fasika and happy New Year in the full moon of our moon Megebe. So I should like to wish everybody a happy moon and the celebration with the slaughter of the lamb and the drinking of the beverages that have no fizzy substances or colorants, just natural beverages, and unleavened bread, which we call kita, which does not have yeast in it, does not have a brew in it, does not have a buho. does not have a fermentation. So I will try to explain where we are right now. And Lemba Beta Israel SENAYI is busy in the celebrations and will be celebrating. And the lamb has been allocated to Lemba Beta Israel SENAYI. And Mengistu and Kahan Dawid is taking care and presiding over the lamb, the slaughtering, making sure that it is slaughtered according to our custom. We have a special way of slaughtering where we have to cut the throat and slit the throat of the animal until all the blood is drained out. Yes, and then it will be considered a clean offering, either for sacrifice or for a meal. So I would like to pass this message to all Beta Israel around the world to observe the feast of Passover. So in the evening, we will prepare tomorrow evening, the 14th day, which is full moon of Megebe, and we shall be having the lamb sacrificed at that particular time very quickly in the evening, so that the people can prepare to go on a journey here. They're going to cross the Red Sea, and so it is important that the lamb is slaughtered for a meal. This is not a sacrifice that you offer to the Amlak or the Lord your God. This is a meal for you. It's not a sacrifice, please. We must make it very clear that the lamb that you eat on Passover is not a sacrifice. A sacrifice is when you offer the whole animal on the altar, or you place it on the fire and all of it is consumed by the fire, which is the Amlak Supreme Being himself consuming it, because you're offering a sacrifice. So it's a different case this time. You are not offering it to be consumed in the fire. You are eating it. You're eating it, so it is not a sacrifice. So we have to draw a line between your food for the road and the sacrifice to the Amlak of Israel. Yes, so these are two different things. So we are doing, it's our tradition that before you set on a journey, you must have eaten first. It is our tradition. Yeah, even today, even if it's not Passover, but if someone is going to go on a journey, they have to eat. And those who are not going on a journey, they don't have to eat at that particular time, because it is only for those who will be taking a long journey somewhere. So therefore, it is important to all children of Israel to understand this tradition still lives in our communities today. It's not only for Passover. Before you go someplace, you have to eat first. This is the way it is done. So during the Passover, when we were going away in the night to try to avoid those who are trying to stop us from going away, or going away with our staff, with our flock, with our wealth, with our gold, with our silver. So it was almost a war or a conflict about our going away. So therefore we were in a hurry, in such a big hurry to go away and to go to the promised land. So we are going to explain in detail after this Passover, but this Passover will be the evening, will be the lamb and the bread and the beverage. The people will have to eat in a hurry and start to dramatize that they are going on a journey and they have to go out into the street and walk with torches and with holding a torch to go out and start walking in the night to commemorate the departure from the land where they were confined into bondage and restriction and limitation. And so what we will do now is that we will explain that the evening is for the departure, a very sumptuous departure, a very rapid departure from the homeland of those who were misusing us. Yes, and then we're going back to our homeland, which is right in the southern Arabian Peninsula. As you have heard, the traditions say we came from Yemen, we came from Sena, we came from Asir, we came from these areas. We did not come from Israel. We came from Yemen, from Sena. Sena is in Yemen. It's not in modern Israel today. It was never in modern Israel. Yeah, it was always in Yemen in the past. It has always been like that. We trace ourselves back to 2000 BC. We're still in Yemen as Yemeni Israelites, or before Israel was born. One called Israel was even born. We were already in Yemen. And we were not called Israel because we didn't have that person yet. We were called the Sena people. Yes, Basena. Basena. This is what we were called before the birth of one called Israel, who was also one of our heroes. We acknowledge him as one of our heroes, but he is not the beginning of our history. Our history goes beyond someone called Israel. We respect him, but it's not the beginning of our history. Yeah, so the land that we had occupied was not called Israel. It was called Asir, which is the representative of the digital 10. Number 10 is called Asir. And then if you say Asert, you are saying the 10th. Asart, the 10th. We have a lot of digital numerology principles in our language. Guess that we bring numerology into the language to say that this number stands for this number stands for that, and we explain our mysteries and our cultures and our deep secrets and sacred things. So I'm glad that we're able to understand. We'll give a full documentary in a few days of how we came to be in the lands of other people, how we had to return to our land, and what land was it called, because there's a lot of distortion, there's a lot of deception that has been going on, that the so-called modern Israel is the homeland of the Basena or the Balemba. It is not correct. Yes, and then we want to put that right. We're going to have a full documentary after Passover. The Passover will happen, the evening Passover, the evening meal and the departure from Hasaba, not from Egypt, from Hasaba, which is now called Ethiopia, which again is not a proper name for that, because these are names that were developed by the colonizers. So it was the land of Hasaba, or it was Punt of the Puntiwetse. So we are going to name these places in the traditional sense, in a traditional setting, for a traditional landscape, not this colonial things of Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Federal Republic, Republic of Kenya, we're going to do away with that nonsense. Yes, we are going to go back to our traditional setting and our traditional structures and speak about from that point of view. Yes. And so we are going to explain in a documentary right after this Passover. So after the 14th day and the 14th evening is still the 14th. So we have the 14th day and then we have the 14th night. Yes. So in this time, because of the equinox, they are all 12 hours each. So we make it very clear that this is a day, this is a night. We don't say 24 hours. 24 hours is one day and one night. It's not one day only. So you must understand that we are not speaking like the other people who are so confused. No, we are not confused at all. We know how to count. We use the clock. Yes. To see the sunrise, we start counting number 1. We don't say 6 or what. It's 1, the first hour. Yeah, so of the day, sunrise. Yes, and the evening is the end of the day hours and beginning the night hours from 1 again. Yes, not not something else. Yes. So we are going to make these things very clear and make it very clear. But I wish you well, all of you, a happy, happy, happy Fasika, Passover, and be glad and remember that this Pasika is doing a lot of things. We are looking at quite a lot of things that we're celebrating with this Pasika. With this Fasika, we are having the new year coming in because we commemorate our victory and our liberation from a land that was misusing us. Two, we are happy that we are free and we have a new year declared by our Amalek. He said, because of your day of liberation from those who are misusing you, I will make this day a new year and a new day for you. So therefore we are observing that according to the precepts of the Most High of Israel, that we should make this the first month of the year. Yeah, before this happened, the months were a little bit different. But after the declaration that was made that we should observe this month as the first month of the year, we are keeping it as a new thing from what we used to have before this liberation day was declared or before it came into existence. And so don't be confused when we have a different month as the first month of the year, because it's the day when we got delivered from those who were misusing and mishandling us, because we're doing a lot of brick work. Yes, in Hasaba, we're doing a lot of brick work. Yes, and so that was not good. And we were really humbled. So let me tell you a little bit. When we were in Hasaba, we were seeking refuge because we had famine in Yemen. There was famine and starvation in Yemen, and we had to seek refuge to those of us in Hasaba who were almost like our relatives, actually, our brothers who speak in the same language. We have almost similar structures of society and sociological basis of our people, and therefore we had so much in common with the people in Hasaba, which is called Ethiopia. In fact, where we were in Yemen is actually part of what we would call Ethiopia today. It's just the eastern part of Ethiopia. Where we were in Yemen. Yeah, in Yemen, it's also in the border with Saudi Arabia. So before, in those days, there were no borders of something called Yemen and Saudi Arabia. No, it was a land that was stretching from Yemen up to parts of Saudi Arabia, which is their sea province now that we have right now. And that was forming the land of promise of the children of Yemeni Israelite or Basena or Balemba. And so in this way, when the Exodus happened, so we went to Hasaba, which is Ethiopia. Yes. And so you must be careful when people say it was Egypt, because it was never Egypt. It was Ethiopia. At that particular time, there was occupation. We're talking about 1700, 1800 BC up to around 16 or even 15. Some people say that 1500 BC, and that was the time when the so-called Egypt was occupied by the Hyksos. And we're going to have a documentary that's going to explain this so that we can blow to pieces these little stupid claims that our people were slaves in Egypt and all these stupid stories that do not go with our oral tradition. And our oral traditions do not say that our people were slaves in Egypt. There's no such a thing that ever existed. I don't know where the story is coming from. We're going to explain in detail after this, a special segment that will look at addressing this misconception that our people were slaves in Egypt. They were not slaves in Egypt. They were refugees in what we call Ethiopia today. Yeah, which is also another side of some of their people. Because where we are in Yemen and parts of Saudi Arabia was Eastern Ethiopia, if you like, if you want to use the word Ethiopia, but it is not necessarily Ethiopia because we don't have a name like that. It's a colonial name. Republic of Ethiopia. We don't have republics in our culture. Or the African continent or the East African. We don't have those things. Someone came up with a new invention of names which we don't understand where they came from. We don't have them in our language, so how can they be who we are? We cannot be something that is not represented in our own social structures. Yeah, and so because of that, our people suffered famine and they went to Ethiopia, to their kin, to their relatives, to seek refuge there. But as we were seeking refuge, we became a little compromised because when you seek refuge, sometimes the people turn around and think that you're feeling kind of bad and you're like you have no control there because it's not really your homeland. And they will start misbehaving and start being clumsy and start being bully and all that. And that's what happened here. They received us very well. They were very nice in the beginning, but in the end, they felt like we were threatening them they were increasing in number, and we were getting cleverer because Moses was looking for resources or wealth that he could use to relocate the people back home, because we ended up doing brickwork now, which was not very honorable for us. Ended up doing brickwork, and there's a lot of abuse here and there, abuses, a little bit of insult from some people saying these ones are not originally from here or they have come from somewhere. And then in the end, there was some conflict. But the real conflict that happened here was the conflict of when Moses gathered the resources that would sponsor the return to the homeland of the children of Yemen, that the Abyssinians or the Ethiopians of that time said, no, give up this gold and this wealth, because we think that you must somehow, like, you've taken it from us. It's like a pillage from us or from someone else in the neighborhood, like Germa or someone in the Kushite areas. And then they say, give it up, give it up. We think you got it in the wrong way. And then Moses said, no, I'm not going to give it up. I'm going to use this to sponsor the return to Yemen, to Asir, to the greater Yemen, to Sena. And then they said, no, I refuse. And when they said that there was a war and a conflict, that's how it happened. It was about giving up the wealth that was meant to be used to sponsor the return to the homeland. And so this is the real chief argument. But when the documentary is coming up in a few days, we will be able to update you on what really happened here, the conflict between Yemen and Ethiopia. What happened? Yes. And so our Passover will be for 7 days, from the 15th of this moon up to the 21st of this moon will be 7 days, and we'll be celebrating until those days have passed. When I say the 15th, I'm not talking about the Gregorian calendar, please, because tomorrow is the 14th in our calendar. So from the 15th, it will be 1 up to 21, the 21st of this moon, until the 21st. Then we will have 7 days of Passover. And during these 7 days, we'll be eating bread without yeast. Yes, we can eat other food, but we have to eat bread without yeast. It's only the eve of the 14th that we eat the lamb. We don't have any leftovers, so we just consume everything. And then one more thing before I go. The lamb that is slaughtered the Beta Israel way, draining all the blood and everything, is eaten. All of it is eaten, and no leftovers, no keeping for tomorrow. And one more thing, the internal organs of the lamb, or like the skin of the lamb, and all the internal organs, all the sexual organs, reproductive organs, all those things are not eaten in our tradition. Please. Please. You may have heard from maybe some Jewish or Roman people saying that you eat the internal organs also. No, they are unclean. So all the internal organs, including the skin of the lamb, must be burned in the fire completely. And then the ashes are taken and thrown away at a place that is not frequently visited by anyone. This is our tradition. Yeah. Someone may be saying, oh, did you read that from Leviticus? No. I know my tradition. I'm not reading books to know that. I don't have to hear from Leviticus. I'm talking about my tradition here. Yeah. I don't know who Leviticus is. I'm following my tradition that when we slaughter an animal, the internal organs are unclean according to the laws of clean and unclean in Beta Israel. You don't eat internal organs. They must be put on the fire and the ashes must be thrown away. Yes, this is the tradition. Yes. If you're reading Leviticus or you're reading Genesis, I'm not interested. I'm talking about Beta Israel culture, tradition, custom. Yes, regarding clean and unclean. Yes, thank you very much. And we will be looking at that, and then we'll have a documentary right after this. But for now, happy Passover, all children of Israel all around the world. Salam, 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 happy Fasika. This is King Binyam Selamun of Lemba Beta Israel. Salam.